The Russian-Ukraine war has continued to escalate on day 17, with Ukrainian forces giving a tough fight, not ready to bow down. Air raid sirens and heavy shelling were heard in the outskirts of the capital city of Kyiv. Overnight shelling and Russian airstrikes were also reported in the southern city of Ukraine, Mykolaiv. Several parts of Volnovakha in Donetsk city were destroyed by the continuous bombardments from Russian forces. The second largest city of Ukraine, Kharkiv, is also under relentless bombardment from Russian forces. Several residents were seen taking shelter in metro stations. Visuals on your screen show the devastating aftermath of these attacks. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials have alleged the mayor of the Melitopol city has been kidnapped after he refused to cooperate with the Russian military occupying the city. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said the kidnapping of the mayor of Melitopol is a war crime and a crime against democracy, and that the actions of the Russian occupiers will be equated to those of ISIS terrorists.
У Мелітополі окупанти захопили мера міста Івана Федорова. Мера, який мужньо захищає Україну та людей у своїй громаді. Очевидно, що це ознака слабкості.
Our Foreign Affairs Editor Gita Mohan getting us the very latest from the capital city of Kyiv. Gita, do take us through the developments overnight as far as the shelling, the constant shelling by Russian forces is concerned. They're closing in on in the capital city, and it's unlikely that they are going to relent.
Well, absolutely. They are closing in, but the Ukrainians have given them a very, very tough fight. The visuals that we have of the drone visuals that are out right now of how the Ukrainians are repelling the Russian forces is commendable. But how long and how far can the Ukrainians really repel the Russian forces or stop them from advancing? That is the big question. So for now, we've seen a tough fight. There were ongoing battle when we were in Bollywood, and it continues even in various other parts of the Kyiv Oblast. That's the Kyiv region. We are in the suburbs of the Kyiv region, not so far away from the capital city, Sneha. And while the Ukrainians are giving the Russians a tough fight, it is becoming very difficult for Ukraine to continue holding. You see, President Zelensky has come out and said that we will not allow a Russian flag to fly here in the capital city. But much of Ukraine, many parts of Ukraine is facing the wrath of the Russian forces, and the shelling, the bombing continues. Late last night, we heard 3 bombs, and we had to go to find cover. And sat there through the night, and it continued even through the morning. So yes, things are going to look much tougher in the coming days should the negotiations between the two sides not come to an understanding where the two sides really stop this entire war and the Putin administration declares ceasefire. Unless and until that happens, even through the negotiations, Sneha, Putin has said there is going to be no ceasefire. So barring the humanitarian corridors, there has been no ceasefire, no relenting from the Russian forces. So it is a scary scenario, but the Ukrainians are giving the Russians a tough fight.
Absolutely. Gita, you did talk about Ukrainians really giving the Russians a tough fight, with civilians completely armed and ready to take them on. Many of them actually even returning from Poland, Gita, coming back to Ukraine essentially to take the Russian forces on, even as they go on bombarding, residential areas, areas that are occupied by civilians. There is, in fact, no stopping when it comes to the Russian forces.
Absolutely. When we were traveling from Lviv to Kyiv, on that very train, Sneha, we had a gentleman whose name is also Vladimir, but he said, I'm going to not call myself Vladimir anymore because it is the same as the Russian president, and I'm going to call myself Volodin. And he had gone to drop his friend's family across to Poland and returned. He returned because he says, this is the time that my country needs me, and so I'm going to be here. And many such young people working and living in other parts of Europe have returned to Ukraine. There are others from other countries also, including former British military personnel, servicemen, who have also come to join the International Legion. But again, various countries coming together, we do not know how that scenario really plays out. Ukrainians joining the territorial army over here, the Territorial Defense Forces, reports of which we've already put out, is something that shows, that really inspires one and all, and how Ukrainians have come together to fight for their motherland. We know that we went to a combat training center, spoke to women in combat, most of them computer professionals, artists, dancers, musicians, all of them coming. Yoga teacher, we spoke to a yoga teacher as well who learned yoga in Germany and is Shiva Bhakt, Sneha. So all of this, but all of them left everything that they're doing and have joined the Territorial Defense Force here only to defend their country. So there are many stories to be told, but right now the focus remains on the Russian onslaught that Ukraine is facing and the kind of strategy Ukraine is employing to ensure that the advancement of the forces is stalled.
Right. Gita, thank you so much for getting us all of those details. Do be safe. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you for more on that story. Gita Mohan, our foreign affairs editor, getting us all those details live from the capital city of Kyiv in Ukraine. And joining us now is Oleksiy Goncharenko. He's an MP from Ukraine. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope that I pronounced your name right. Apologize if I haven't.
You can call me Alex.
All right. First of all, like I said, thank you so much for your time. We really hope you and your family members are safe right there. I've been seeing a couple of your tweets. You've raised concern about the forceful involvement of Belarus, really, in this entire war. Do give us an idea about what really is happening as far as Belarus's involvement is concerned.
Hello, thank you for covering the situation in Ukraine, because it's important not only for our country, but for the whole world. And situation on nuclear power plants, situation with other countries shows that it's really a fight of dictators against the whole free world. And one more dictator is Alexander Lukashenko, current so-called president of Belarus. He's self-proclaimed president. He is very much dependent from Putin, and Putin wants him to join the war against Ukraine. For this, the Russians made a number of provocations. Last was yesterday, when Russian aircrafts from Ukrainian airspace attacked Belarus territory just to claim Ukraine in this. And we have all evidences of this. And we see that yesterday Lukashenko met with Putin in Kremlin, in Moscow. But as we know, and as we see now, the attempt to take Belarus into direct war failed. Fortunately for all of us and for Belarus people and for Ukrainian people, because there is no movement of Belarus land forces into Ukraine for the moment. And we hope that the situation will be like this in future. So Lukashenko is, yes, he's very dependent from Putin, but also he realizes that this war will end very badly for Putin, and he doesn't want the same situation for himself. So that's why he made this decision, and now he's trying to get out of this situation. I hope that will not change in nearest future.
Also has spoken about the fact that there is a planned terrorist attack, in fact, on the nuclear plant in Chernobyl. And that is something that's going to be put on Ukraine, essentially. The blame is going to be put on Ukraine. What is the information that you all have gathered?
We know that Russians are preparing a number of false flag attacks, provocations. That's their style. That's how they started this war several weeks ago, saying that Ukraine was bombarding their territory and bullshit like this. All of this was then dismissed by the whole world. The latest things that they are trying to accuse Ukraine is so-called biological weapon, and what they say is just insane, because their general, who is head of radiation, chemical, biological forces of Russian Federation, he made a special briefing just to say that Ukrainians, just imagine, made a special virus which can attack just Russians, so no other nations, no other ethnoses, but just Russians. and Ukrainians did it together with Georgians, Germans, and Americans, and we were preparing migrating birds that they will take this virus inside Russia, and also special insects. I'm not joking. That's madness, which was told by Russian high-ranked general, and that tells us that they can do anything. I mean, everything, absolutely, because they are mad people. My first education is medical, so I can say that I will take this man to a psychiatric ward and for psychiatric treatment. But now he's one of leaders of Russia.
Okay, we'll talk to you about that also, because that continues to be a big concern with, claims and counterclaims from both sides that biological warfare is very much really on the cards. But talk to you about your role in all of this. You're a member of the Territorial Army and you've been personally involved. You wish to be personally involved in the fight against Russia. Like yourself, there are many, in fact, in Ukraine who've, taken up arms essentially and are not afraid to take Russian soldiers on.
I don't have military experience. I'm a member of the parliament, I'm a politician and completely civilian person. So I cannot tell you that I just want to be in fight, because it really will not be very useful in this fight. But I really took weapons in my arms. I joined Territorial Army, that is like a second line forces. If I will need to fight, if Russians will enter Kyiv, I will fight with them. I'm not sure that I will do a lot of. I don't have experience once again, but I'll do my best with the thousands and thousands of my compatriots with whom we are standing shoulder to shoulder. But I hope that I will not need to do this. I hope that our army, who are professionals and who showed to the whole world that they are one of the best in the world soldiers, that they will still stop Russians and then counterattack them and threw them out from our territory. And I will need only, like now, I'm helping our forces, like my colleagues. I mean, I took part in evacuation missions from different towns. I have my shifts on checkpoints, so I help to control the situation in the city with weapons in my hands. So I hope that I will not need to shoot from this weapon, because once again, I'm not professional. But if I will need to do this, I will do it without any hesitation.
Absolutely. The world is watching astounding pictures and scenes from Ukraine, where civilians have in fact taken up arms and are ready to fight the Russian soldiers for the sake of their motherland. Do continue to be with us, please. We'll just come back to you. Let's talk a little about the attacks on Ukraine. As they rage on, locals continue to run for their lives. Citizens have been forced to leave their houses and take shelter in the basement of buildings with limited stock of food and essentials. The basements have been converted into makeshift living spaces and kitchens. Here's a ground report by our special correspondent Rajesh Pawar from Kyiv.
So I'm here in the shelter in the makeshift kitchen. This is the place being used now, the makeshift kitchen. People who had proper houses, everything, now forced to live like this because of this war. I'm here with a few people here, and let's see what are their experiences. Can we speak English a little bit?
I'll translate.
Okay. What do you think about, I know you are fighting now for your country, but what about the humanitarian side of it? How people are suffering in this one, common people? What do you think?
I hope we're not real sufferings in Kyiv, because the people in here, as you can see, they can manage and to eventually make this makeshift kitchen, just like a kitchen at home. So where people are supporting each other, people
supporting each other, very important.
Yeah, people are helping each other. So in Kyiv, the situation is much better than in Chernihiv, in Sumy, in Kharkiv, in Kherson. So I think of course it's wartime. Of course it's hard times. But I hope that we will survive it, and we will be much happier and much stronger than before.
Thank you. And what do you think? You have children, ma'am? You have children? But what do you think about the suffering of common people here in this? Common people.
Знаю, що Путін вбивця, і хочу, щоб якнайшвидше це закінчилося, тому що реально дивитися на страждання людей, дітей. Наші Збройні сили просто шикарні. Я вірю в них, люблю і бажаю їм витримки, міць, підтримки всіляко.
She considers Putin to be a murderer, and she cares about people who come to her, and she's fascinated about our military, about our armed forces of Ukraine, because they do their best and they're amazing.
I'm here in a shelter, which is in the basement of a big multi-story building. It's a huge shelter holding many people around. And this is the situation with the pipes, which were actually for the building, but right now being used as a shelter from any kind of air raid or missiles or bombs falling on this. So the moment a siren goes, people come to this shelter, and there are people who are living here permanently for last few days. This is another part of the basement. These are the water plants and the heating plants for the whole building, which is a multi-story building. But right now, this whole area and beyond this has been converted into a kind of store for water and all for the people who have taken shelter here. And there are also some beds there in the corner where people are staying at present. People who had a very normal life, who had a happy life living in their own apartments, right now, because of this war, forced to live like this, like displaced in their own country, in their home, in their own city. And this is the kind of humanitarian catastrophe Ukraine is witnessing right now. And this war needs to stop so that people can, again, this is not their fault. They need to go back to their normal lives. Look, it's a small child.
She's sleeping right now.
And, this is the life they are forced to live now because of this war. Привет. Как дела? Как дела? Окей, нормально? Окей, хорошо. Спасибо. This is how people are forced to live in this war. And this is the cost of war normal people have to pay. You can show this area. There's another small boy, and this is the only place where they have now to spend life like this, and in this shelter. Small children, old people, women are forced to live under shelter when their house is just two blocks away, but with the air sirens blowing all the time. People are worried for the safety of the children, their families, and this is a life they are forced to live in a war zone in a city which is under siege. This is Rajesh Pawar for India Today.
Member of Parliament from Ukraine, Mr. Oleksiy, continues to be with us. The magnitude of the problem, and women and children are facing the worst brunt of this crisis. Do give us, a picture about what the situation is like. We've heard and seen reports of maternity hospitals being bombed, of toddlers, of infants dying in this entire battle that Russia is waging against Ukraine.
Putin and Russian Federation are committing war crimes in Ukraine, and they organized a real genocide against our people. They are bombing kindergartens, schools, hospitals, maternity houses. They bomb pregnant women, newborns. We have big losses in civilians, and that is absolutely awful. And they're using not controlled missiles. This is not a high precise weapon like they're saying. That's absolutely opposite. That is very dangerous for civilians, and that's why we have so big losses in civilians. So that's why they should be stopped as quickly as possible. Also, they're shooting at nuclear power plants. Also, they're shooting at chemical factories. That is extremely dangerous for every person in the world, even for those who maybe even don't know about this war, but they can suffer from this if ecological catastrophe of planetary scale will happen. So that's why Putin should be stopped as quick as possible, just to prevent the planet from a very big catastrophe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Oleksiy, for joining us.
Thank you. My name is Alex. Thank you.
With your perspective,
Thank you.
We hope and pray that you and your family are safe, and so are the Ukrainians who are in fact battling every single day. It's been 17 days of this invasion by Russia, and the grief and the devastation is absolutely unspeakable. Let's talk about children now. 1 million children have fled Ukraine since the Russian invasion. Most of them are taking a 2-day-long bus journey to neighboring countries for a safer life. As Russia continues to bomb key Ukrainian cities, the future of thousands of children remains uncertain. Here's a heart-wrenching report from the war-torn country.
Broken families, children in tears, bleak future. Heartbreaking images of children crying and crossing to neighboring countries are going viral from Ukraine. Most of them are orphans and are taking a 2-day-long bus journeys towards safety in the West. According to UNICEF, 1 million children have fled Ukraine since the Russian invasion. 14-year-old Alexandra, now in Lithuania, describes hearing the noise of non-stop missiles at night near her orphanage.
They wanted to bomb the nearby military installation, but it ended fine for us. We only heard the missiles fly by and it was frightening. They make a whistling sound as they pass. I did not see them, but I know that they were flickering in dark. I am afraid for those who did see that. We did not see it, but it was very scary.
The United Nations says the exodus is the fastest growing refugee crisis of Europe since World War II.
It was very difficult for the little ones when we were leaving. They were crying because they had to leave their teachers. It was very difficult. Even my heart was broken because it was very difficult for small children as they are little. During these 3 to 4 days, children had to go to the basement for shelter many times.
Ukraine's neighboring countries have opened their doors to hundreds of war orphans.
When we realized that it would not end soon, during these 3 or 4 days, children had to go to the basement for shelter many times when the sirens came on. We took a decision that we had to leave and take them to safety.
As Russia continues to bomb key Ukrainian cities, the future of thousands of children remains uncertain. Bureau Report, India Today.
It's time for a break. On the other side, some before and after images of towns that are now either in ruins or have become ghost towns.